We got Jaime from WallStreetBets, who is, are you the moderator of this subreddit? Is that your involvement?
No, not anymore. I created the subreddit. I founded it. I made it in 2012, and I was the moderator throughout the last 8 years up until April of last year. So I'm getting to watch this entire shit show as a spectator.
Interesting. Okay, so there's no, you don't have like any direct involvement as far as how WallStreetBets is running their Reddit or anything like that.
I don't have any active involvement. No, I don't. My account's not even registered on the subreddit anymore.
Got it. Is this? I mean, as a spectator, are you like astounded by this? Is this something that you foresaw or thought was possible, or are you like the rest of us, like holy shit?
No, absolutely. I foresaw this a long time ago. I started foreseeing this, many years ago. In fact, I used to stop these kind of things when I was still involved with it. But, what I'm super baffled with is the absolute scope and magnitude. They've managed to push these stocks, GameStop and a handful of other ones, just some astronomical amounts. And they've done so in a way that's coordinated. Usually it's been this really chaotic. It's almost like a zoo where everyone's doing their own thing and posting jokes, and I'm going long this and I'm going short that. And they've all kind of gone in unison here, and they've been able to pull off some successful things. Some of the things that I've observed is like they're doing some things that Occupy Wall Street was not able to do. They knocked out a huge fund.
I mean, they essentially, if it wasn't for Steve Cohen and I believe Citadel, right? Like, I mean, would Melvin Capital just be like, would they have gone under? Would they just be fucked?
Probably. I mean, to me, the funniest thing about this entire thing is like, Citadel has the most comfortable position in this entire game. They're sitting there with their hands crossed. I mean, they pulled off the most hostile takeover humanly imaginable. So for those who don't know, Citadel's making money off of these order flows from Robinhood. So anyone who makes a trade on Robinhood is basically giving money to Citadel. They don't care which way you're making it, and the Robinhooders basically, they bankrupted the fund, and now Citadel's going like, well, I happen to have extra money laying around. I'll go ahead and take that from you.
I mean,
it's hilarious.
When you said you used to stop these things, you mean like an organized attempt to kind of, I don't know whether, does this fall under the umbrella of like insider trading or collusion or any of those things, or is this all above board and legal?
It's above my pay grade, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't envy anybody's position, right? Not the moderators on WallStreetBets, not Reddit as a company, not the SEC or FINRA. Everyone's got a really interesting situation. And I don't envy them. Yes, I stopped, this exact same formula where they're taking now, well publicized, they find these low cap or mid cap stocks with really high short float, really low volume, and they buy these out of the money, deep out of the money calls with short term expirations. That forces all sorts of a trickle down effect, and it forces the guys that actually have a ton of money to use big money to push the stocks up. And that's what we're seeing now. We saw that last year with lumber liquidators, and they pulled off the exact same thing. There was nothing different about it. So for as soon as they start getting attention, it rang some alarm bells. And I said, I don't know if this is right. I don't know if this is, freedom of speech. People can say these things on one side. I see the arguments on both sides. And I said, I'm not about to flip a coin on WallStreetBets to see if this is right or wrong. I saw earlier today that the White House press secretary made answered a question on this, right? So, I know one thing for sure. If I was a moderator on WallStreetBets, I wouldn't want to be involved with any of these trades. That's for darn sure. But I didn't want to find out, right? So that's why I stopped it. I thought, after that, the lumber liquidator, there was a ton of attempts that took place after that. But, at that point, we set up a set of rules. So
I believe
there's a lot of stuff.
What I'm hearing right now is that WallStreetBets just took their subreddit private. Does that surprise you?
Yeah. I'm seeing. No, it doesn't. It's been a constant thing for the past 8 years, and I know the guys that are still in charge of it. There's just a running joke. Whenever things got kind of hot a little bit and they get a lot of attention, they will send it private, sends all sorts of speculation that the SEC is investigating. I mean,
right.
At the end of the day, it's complete BS because first of all, if WallStreetBets were to do something bad, let's take something different. Let's suppose that somebody posted insider information and blatantly broke the law. It's no interpretation. And the SEC wanted to investigate it or whatever. Like, putting the subreddit private doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I'm sure the SEC can get around that. Yeah, right.
If the SEC wanted to, exactly. And if the SEC wanted to actually do something like shut it down, they'd knock on Reddit's door and say, hey, Reddit, can you please axe this thing? And they would pretty much do to it what they did to the Donald or whatever that subreddit was for Donald Trump. That thing got axed. This is just the moderators playing shenanigans.
Do you think this is like, so I working at Barstool, we kind of took the internet and were able to kind of undercut journalism and newspapers. It used to be you have to go to school and get a degree and write for a quality publication. And then we came along, used the internet to just write blogs. Now we can make our own videos using our phones rather than having a full studio. It feels like the internet kind of infiltrates every industry and allows the people to kind of cut out the middleman or, knock down the barriers of entry. And I think, that's been happening in finance and Wall Street, Robinhood, these apps, all the access. But is this moment like the revolution, if you will? Are we over dramatizing this, or is there something like serious going on here?
I mean, first of all, yeah, there's something fascinating going on here, and I love what you guys have done. And even Dave, now that he's ventured into the stocks, I really he said something the other day on Twitter that it resonated. He goes, or maybe it was a while ago. When he loses money, he goes, at least it's me losing the money.
My money.
Some suit,
right.
Like that is a very key point. And so now you have these guys that are losing their own money, and it's fine. Is this the aha revolution moment? Look, like there's no movement. Like, what's the end game of this big movement, right? Like, what are you going to knock out all the funds? So there's no, they're playing poker with these other guys. Like, what are you going to do? Take them out of the game, then there's nobody left to play with.
True. I think though, had Cohen and Citadel not stepped in and we watched like an entire fund have to, go under or out of business or unwind, whatever the phrase is, I feel like that would have been a moment where it was like these guys, whether they're fucking around or taking it serious or whatever, banded together and took down like $1 billion entity. I think that would be something that kind of has like long-lasting effects. The fact that they were able to be propped back up.
Yeah, I'll tell you who's really jealous of this situation is the Occupy Wall Street people, right? They sat out in tents for I don't know how long trying to do it with the little sign that said, please, it's not fair.
Right.
Go home, give me my money back. Like, all right, now these guys are getting rich. They're making millions of dollars.
Right.
And they're pretty much stealing. I mean, they're taking the money from the rich. Like, it is a beautiful end of that particular story. So if the point is sticking it to the man, well, certainly they're going to stick it to several men.
Right.
Several men. A lot of funds have also been around for a long time. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of them are really riding this wave right alongside the retail guys. Like, it's not their first rodeo either. They're having to adapt. That's for sure. I don't think anyone's ever seen a social movement. They've seen short squeezes. They've seen this, maneuvers be pulled off, but not this particular. Everyone's waiting for the stock to drop. And every time I looked at my phone today, it's up.
It's going up
20, 30, 40%.
Yeah.
You halt it 10 times a day.
Yeah.
It's
I see this a lot.
It's interesting.
When we, when Barstool's doing things, people are always kind of like, oh, I've dealt with guys like Portnoy before, or I've dealt with the internet. I know how commenters can be. I know how XYZ is. When the internet really gets rolling, when the snowball starts rolling or the tsunami's coming in, I think if you're really not used to the internet or well-versed in it, and you underestimate it, you can get your fucking ass kicked. And I think this is the first time they're really seeing, and I don't think any of these guys ever worried about a subreddit or the Robinhood guys banding together. It is, a little bit revolutionary in the sense where it's like, there's always a big entity who doesn't take it seriously. And then they're like, oh, wait a minute. Fuck. But to that end, I feel like
the biggest, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, the biggest example of this, I'd say, there's another thing I tweeted about last night, Jim Cramer, who for the longest time was obviously aware about WallStreetBets, because you could tell from some of the things he'd say, well, these kids, these millennials on the internet, whatever. And then eventually started using the word Reddit. And now, of course, he's unapologetic about the WallStreetBets thing, but he started off by making fun of these children millennials that are using Instagram to do whatever, and they're thrill seekers, right? And now these thrill seekers just knocked out a $2 billion fine. Is that right? Is that wrong? Whatever, social justice, you name it. That effect is real. And also the effect that they're having on this particular company is real, right? Like, if they were financial trouble now, they're not anymore.
Right.
And is their personal situation real? Yes, there's millionaires that have been made out of this. And I'm sure people losing money too, but this whole thing is real, And this whole idea where where the old schoolers are saying, well, the thing is these valuation from the stock and the discounted cash flows with the EBITDA, whatever. And these guys are like, dude, there's a meme. My car has a ludicrous button on it. And when I push it, it goes fast. Therefore, I'm going to go ahead and buy Tesla calls because they goes fast too. There's my thesis, right?
Yeah.
And prove me wrong. And then they make tons of money doing it. The other guy's like, dude, you'll eventually be wrong. Like, yeah, when? It's been 10 years of being right.
Exactly.
So, a bull market.
So everything I keep hearing now is like, well, these kids, millennials, Robinhood, whatever, degrading, term you want to use, they're going to get left holding the bag and they can't possibly keep this up. Why is that? Is that the price, the stock is just going too high that they can, the average Joe can't buy it when it's $350, or what is the notion? Bag? Yeah, that's the other thing too. I'm like, what does that mean? And by the way, the fund that just collapsed kind of got caught holding the bag, if you want to keep up with this euphemism. But is it true that can they sustain this? Like, is there truth to the fact that eventually the big guys will win just because of deep pockets or experience, or can they keep this up?
I have the sneaky suspicion that the big guys aren't all losing. I have a suspicion that the big guys are also making money. So obviously some of them aren't. But what is this bag like this? That's a boomer thing to say, that there's a bag to hold, right? What if the stock market, what is this, a bubble? Are you guys going to crash? Dude, if the stock market turns directions, I just need to switch my screen over to the puts section and purchase those little things. Like, these guys aren't buying shares waiting for the dividends.
Right.
They're not diversifying their thing. They're sitting there, they're holding these positions with a 3-day expiration on a stock option, not the actual stock. By definition, this investment lasts 3 days, right? And so their investment of a bubble, no bubble, bag, no bubble. Oh, it's going down now? Guess what they're going to do when GameStop starts shorting? They're like, too high. Right. They're all waiting until it pops. And guess what they're going to do? They're going to write that bitch all the way back down and get rid of both sides of the trade. And there's no bag. They're going to have the only bags is going to be full of money.
Have you heard anything as far as anybody from GameStop? Like you mentioned, if they were in financial trouble, they're not. I'd imagine, what's his name? Ryan something or other, the guy that they recently hired, or anybody who's on the board there. Yeah. Like, are there guys who are sitting there right now going like, holy fucking shit, I'm safe, or I'm rich, or whatever it is? I mean, this has to be the wildest experience for them.
Anyone that owns stock in that company, especially employees, surely feel really happy. But they're in a tricky situation. Once again, not a lawyer, not an expert, whatever. I'm just kind of echoing some of the things that I've read. But one of the tricky things that, when you're talking about fraud or pump and dumper schemes, like, one of the criminal acts is when you're doing some type of activity where you're going to unload your stock into the hands of an unwitting victim, right? So if you know that your stock is worthless, you go ahead and pump it up, do whatever, and then you sell it to those people that are excited. You got rid of it, and that in itself that maneuver is legal. So if this company may not be involved in the pump in any way, shape, or form, they're surprised by this as we are. But if they're saying, let's go ahead and take advantage of this pump by selling some of these shares to these unwitting individuals because it'll help us financially, not because we're trying to scam them or anything. We didn't ask for the pump. But the moment that they unload these things off the people that they know that that's not what the actual value is, it gets shady there. So so it's got to suck for them, because they're like, dude, all we need to do is just sell some of these stocks to pay off our debt. But
like, how do you do that, right? Yeah. I mean, is there any? It feels to me like Wall Street and these hedge funds have kind of always been doing that. They've always had their own level of shadiness and what borders on insider trading and do whatever to make a buck. But now that someone else is doing it, it's like, halt trading. We can't let the inmates run the asylum. This isn't a free, they want the free market until the free market's fucking them, basically. To me, it seems like it's just completely hypocritical, no?
It is completely hypocritical. And it's funny because I saw reports today. I've been so busy with, the TD Ameritrade and some other ones they're blocking certain types of trades on some of these things. And they're kind of trying to push back a little bit because they're not equipped with this thing. They're like, dude, stop the bleeding, please do something. Their buddy, it's Schwab, whatever, the brokers that are doing this, and like, they're left flat-footed. They don't know what to do with this type of thing because they can't just shut down one particular individual. They have to shut down millions of them, right? And millions of tiny little ones too. They can't even do it strategically. Like, there's just no way to do it. Who knows what they're gonna do?
It's amazing. It really is. To me, it really does feel like, the average trader that even just I know sometimes thinks of themselves as like, I'm educated. I am well versed in this. I know how to do this. And then they're pointing the finger like these guys don't know how to do it. In my opinion, it's like, I think that this is exposing that, maybe of course, there's some traders on Wall Street who really know what the fuck they're doing and are really sharp. But then I feel like everyone else is just kind of an average guy. Whether you're on WallStreetBets or you're actually employed by some of these firms, it feels like is it too dramatic for me to say that these guys are exposing that Wall Street is not like the experts they want you to believe? That these hedge fund guys, these traders really know what they're doing more so than, the average person.
Absolutely. They're absolutely exposing it because they're making a mockery out of this thing and they're doing well with it. Like, not only that, you have there are a lot of categories, but I'll put it down into more serious investors that sit there and say, okay, this is a value investment or this is a growth investment. I'm going to take some, metrics and finance stuff to evaluate this particular long-term investment. Then you have traders, right, which will going to be these, all right, let's look at these little pictures and constellations and technical analysis on the screen, head and shoulders, whatever. It's probably going to go down, or even quants that they do their own thing, right? And so then you're saying these guys are all looking at this new group of people saying, you guys aren't traders. Well, they're right. They're not traders because, they open up their Robinhood account. First, they don't even have bar charts on it. Like, it's just a line graph. So they can't even do some of these things the other guys do. They don't care to, because when they open up their account, they scroll down. They're like, I want to buy, let's go with GameStop. Okay, let's do a call. So they go to the call and they scroll down to find one they can afford, right? They don't understand what is strike and expiration. Like, I got $200 in my account. That one I can buy. I'll buy. Oh, I have $500 and I can have this one. They buy it. And right before you purchase it, Robinhood does the right thing. And they go, hold on. Just to make sure, because this is dangerous, you think the stock's going to go up or down? And then you answer with a fucking arrow with a color on it. And you say up or down, just to make sure you don't want to screw this up. These traders are using this interface for these things. Like,
right.
That's, they're saying, the order flow with the Citadel and their, the transaction time and the spreads and whatever. Like, they don't give a fuck. They don't even know what these things are. They're like, the stock's going up. Look at these little rocket ships that I'm showing my friends. Hurry the hell up. Buy now, and so, no, they're not trading, absolutely not trading. But you know how much money they're making? They're destroying it. Like, these meme investors, they're a category now, and they're changing lives. They're changing companies. They're forced to be contending with.
Right. I mean, it's like, okay, maybe it's not the right, again, to compare it to like our industry. Maybe I'm not writing, eloquently like the journalistic schools will teach you, but like what I'm writing, people like, it's resonating, people are reading it. So who cares? If you get to the end goal of making money, then who fucking cares what you're doing?
That's the best example. People make it. Last year, the pandemic started, lockdown. Everyone's got to go home. No more work. And so they started using Zoom. They're like, all right, cool. I think Zoom's going to go up, obviously, because there's logic to that, I suppose. So they start looking up Zoom. They find a company that's got the ticker symbol ZOOM that has nothing to do with a video conferencing thing. And then people are buying that stock, thinking it's the video conferencing one, and they shoot it up to the sky like crazy. All the old timers sitting back going, oh, these idiots, they don't even know what they're doing. They just Googled Zoom and they clicked it and they bought. Guess what? Those guys made more money than the ones that bought the real Zoom.
Right? Yeah.
Who gives a shit? Like, they made money. The goal was make money. The goal was I made money and I made more than you. Who's laughing at you? You could go ahead and laugh at me and make fun if you want. I'm going to go buy something with my money.
Absolutely, right? But then also at the heart of this is a guy like Deep Fucking Value on Reddit or Roaring Kitty on YouTube, who he did seem to, at least in my, I'm a novice to all this, but watching a couple of his streams and seeing him, it seemed like he did know what he was talking about and is, well versed in all this shit. He's turned, $50K into what I'm sure is like 50 million at this point. How many, is that the exception? Is he the rarity in that group? Are most of them kind of buffoons who are pressing the arrow up, or is it a good amount of them who really know what they're doing?
It's such a big group. You do have a little bit of everything. One of the things that I've always really enjoyed about WallStreetBets and the community there is that you've attracted a lot of things. Like, we had a situation last year with the infinite money cheat code where these guys figured out how to I don't know if you're familiar with this, but they gamed Robinhood. They gamed Robinhood where they deposited $1,000 and they would take these $1 million trades out because they would loot these covered calls in a really fascinating way. Doing that cheat code takes a little bit of knowledge to understand it. And then watching other people that were replicating it, they showed a certain mastery with doing that, because you can tell somebody the formula But then you see the types of the way that they executed. I won't bore people with the boring details with it, but there's a very clear skill set with the way that they pulled it off. And you can tell a guy that knows what he's doing. So they're in there too, right? And they're simply taking a different approach to it where they're dipping their chicken tenders in the champagne or whatever. There's a new strategy in town. Do head and shoulders if you want. That's cool. Do high frequency. That works too. Go ahead and do your fundamental analysis. That works. I'm going to go post something on YouTube. I'll be right back.
Right.
And that works too.
Was there truth to the death threats and, whatever they said about Reddit doing to Andrew Left at Citron?
I have experience with this myself and the inability to prove an accusation online.
Yeah.
There is no way to prove or disprove anything.
Right.
Like I was accused at one point of being somebody else. I didn't even try to disprove it because there's no point. I spoke to Andrew myself on the phone last Friday, and I believe him, period. That's the end of the story. I know that he's like, dude, I've been in this for 20 years. I make money. I lose money. I take shots all the time. This is a big boys game. Like, I get it. I'm not worried about that. But he's talking about getting into his daughter's Instagram account, whatever. Like, there's no reason for him to tell that to me other than out of straight up desperation. Like, dude, lose money, make money. It's the name of the game, but you don't mess with people's family. So I believe him. It's not proof. It's impossible to do it. It's just my 2 cents.
I think it's pretty, anybody who has any experience with the internet and knows that there's at least a couple bad eggs in every group who are going to take things too far with threats or personal attacks or whatever. I can't believe there's anybody who doesn't. No. Everyone on the Reddit page was behaving and not doing that. I think that's pretty ridiculous and naive. Are you friends with Andrew? Like, was that a phone call? Like, what the fuck? Can you get your fucking cronies to stop? Or is it all just kind of talking business and riding through this whole thing together?
I'm not friends with him. I didn't even know who he sent me an email that morning. He's like, dude, it's Andrew Left here. We got to talk. And I'm like, whatever, cuckoo. And I did open up the news and I because I knew what Citron was. I just didn't know what the name of the guy was. I didn't answer the guy. I was like, it was a crazy moment. And then I saw Andrew Left's name popping up all over the news. And so I was like, I know that name. Wait, maybe that's him. So I watched a couple of YouTube videos to see what his voice sounded like to make sure I wasn't a spoof, because obviously. And no, it was him, all right. And he was just looking to vent. The guy was like, dude, what's wrong with your group? I'm like, dude, if this was on my watch, it wouldn't have happened. I'm sorry about it. It's probably a few bad apples. It's probably not representative. Keep your head down. It'll blow over. And like I said, it's happened to me before. And it's just, it's no big deal. But, when it comes to losing money, they're all used to it. Carl Icahn and George Soros have gone at it before. Tons of investors. It's a completely known thing.
Yeah, let me just get you one last question. As a Mets fan here, do I have to be worried at all that Steve Cohen is involved in this too much, or anything that he's underestimating this and might be taken out or lose more than he's expecting?
Let's just hope not.
All right, brother. I really appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Not a problem. Take care.
Have a good one. Bye. All right, thanks for watching. Make sure that you click that subscribe button, hit the bell icon, and leave a comment below. I'll chop it up with you in the comment section. Let me know what you thought about today's episode, as well as what you want to hear in the future.